26 years ago today, Shaquille O'Neal took down Michael Jordan and the Bulls for the first time in his career. Though Shaq finished with 29 points and 24 rebounds, what he remembers most are those valuable lessons he learned from MJ on the court. Roz Golden-Woode talks to Shaq about that memorable game and his growth as a young player in this edition of Storytime with Shaq.
January 16th, 1993, still your rookie year. You guys are in Chicago playing the Bulls. It's a big moment. These are the defending champs, back-to-back champs.
Pippen in, puts it up, Ian counted, and he's fouled. Mike, quick turnaround, and he hit it.
I remember that Mike is killing us, but we're close. You know, when you see the light at the end of the tunnel, you go for it. Damn, I'm about to beat Michael Jordan.
What was that locker room like when you pull off an OT win like that, come from behind on the road?
Everybody was happy, especially Nick, because he was from Chicago. It was great. And again, it was a great confidence booster.
Michael Jordan's going off. He ended up with 64 points. What is the team talking about? What do you remember about it?
Before the game, I was terrified, but to relieve pressure of that, I ain't got to guard him, so I'm not worried. Second thing I said, I can't let him dunk on me. That's not going to happen. So it was a play when he comes baseline.
Jordan turns and faces. Shot clock at 7, 6, and a... Whoa! Shaquille, that might really hit him hard.
I had to touch him up. It was one I'm not getting dunked on because I'll never live that down from family members, homeboys, barbershops. That'll be a poster forever because Mike was the man at the time. But Mike also taught me something very valuable. So when I go to help him up, he said, don't ever help nobody up. Great foul. Don't do that. I don't need your help. But I'm coming back. Don't you worry. Mike is the guy that taught me how to go to the next level. Down the line, we beat them in the Eastern Conference Finals, go to the finals. We get swept by King and them. The next year, they sweep us. Walking off the court, Mike grabs me and says, before you succeed, you must first learn to fail. And that helped me out when I made the move to LA and kept failing, and it came to the point where we got to win.
You know, you're sharing these wonderful stories of learning from one of the greats. But before you even had these opportunities, these little moments you described, you're still a rookie. Before that, all you had done is see Michael Jordan. What's it like for you sharing the court with Michael Jordan?
I'm studying him because I want what he has. Studying how the refs treat him. I'm studying how he's talking to his teammates and they respond. I'm studying his relationship with him and Phil Jackson. I'm studying how the opponents look at him and fear him and all that. I definitely want that. He was the best in the game and I wanted his spot. You know, when you're coming in, you don't know much and you see it, you steal it. Because that's how I became who I am today. When I was in high school, I was like, I'm a pretty good runner. My dad got to make me run. Give me a big man that run. Oh, David Robinson, damn, he's sprinting. Give me a mean big man, like to throw balls, like to fight. Patrick Ewing, Give me a smooth big man that's real, got a lot of moves. Keem Olajuwon. That's the Shaq. That's Shaq right there. I'm taking all the moves they got. I want one day, sooner than later, Shaq is the best in the game. Not the best big man, the best player in the game.
Shaquille O'Neal right there talking about his first encounter with the one and only Michael Jordan. And number one, just looking at skinny Shaq back in the day. I mean, we all watched Shaq evolve into the most dominant, but looking at him in the Orlando Magic uniform, a little bit slimmer than what we've come accustomed to seeing.
Look like Shaq's a little brother. I mean, but it reminds you of just how unbelievable it is to see a guy come in the league one way, evolve, become a champion and everything else Shaq did. He was so nimble and so agile when he was a young player that I think if you didn't watch him before he went to the Lakers, you almost forget just how ridiculous he was in terms of the proportions, man. It's unbelievable that a guy that size could move around and play all over the floor the way Shaq did.
I mean, obviously, like I said, I wouldn't be sitting here if it were not for the skinny Shaq, the big Shaq, all the Shaqs, because his ability not just to be as dominant as he was in terms of his game and copying the greats, like he said, but Shaq had a way of playing the game that also lifted up his teammates, not just physically like he could have on one finger, but he was always a willing passer. The double teams and triple teams that he would see at times willing to kick the ball out to Robert Ory's, to Rick Fox, to 3D Dennis Scott, whoever it was that needed to knock down the shot, to show the trust in his teammates. That's also how you become a champion. And so Shaq also stole some of those qualities from those great players that he mentioned.
He also talked about some of the things he witnessed Mike doing, talking to his teammates on the floor. What's one moment that maybe stands out, an interaction that you and the big fella had on the floor when you were playing?
I mean, I think the biggest interactions for us, really, I thought that Shaq's value came in when we would lose at times or struggle, because he would always try to remind us, you know, that don't let it linger too long. Let's be pissed off. Let's be frustrated that we didn't get it done tonight. A lot of times it might have been because, you know, Shaq wasn't where he needed to be that night, so he already knew it was his fault. But I digress. But yeah, he always had a way of bringing us back to the positive. And for someone as big and as dominant that played with so much force, his positivity, his personality, the way he would make us laugh and smile after a tough night or a tough day, those things kept us moving forward during those years. We kept trying to win and be successful night in and night out.
Definitely were successful, 3 championships with the big fella to prove it. And you know who else is striving for success and perfection? That would be the one and only Anthony Davis. He is walking in the Oracle. The Pelicans, they struggle on the road, but they are 6-2 when he scores at least 35. When you put up those numbers tonight, and you know there's that big game coming up. Who that nation? What's good? Alfred Payton prepping for Drew Brees. Pelicans, Golden State. The late game tonight. Got more game time coming. Don't go anywhere. We got 2 games for you on Thursday, trusting the process, visiting the Pacers, and then the Lakers and Russell Westbrook and PG-13. 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Coverage starts at 6:30 with the Game Time. That's us on NBA TV. Now, you notice I didn't say LeBron because he will not be playing. LeBron James out for at least 2 more games. However, he has been cleared to return to practice next week. Since injuring his groin, the Lakers have gone 4-7 in 11 games without him. Their next 2 are on the road at OKC, which is on our network, and at Houston. And Rich Paul, his agent, weighed in today, reading, quote, "We don't give a bleep what anyone, what nobody thinks or says. We're going to do what's best for him. The best case scenario was 3 weeks. The worst case was 6 weeks. And we're right on schedule," end quote. Rich Paul drops the mic and walks off. Number one, how often do agents put out statements like this for their, players speaking for them as a spokesperson? How often do you see this in the NBA or any professional sport?
It's unique.
Happens.
Yeah, I mean,
Does it seem unusual or am I tripping?
No, I think it's unique in LeBron's case because we're so
Yes.
used to hearing directly from LeBron James. But I would sense that the rancor about where's LeBron rescue this season, as it cranks up, there are going to be instances where somebody has to say something. I think this might have been Rich Paul just kind of want to set the record straight. I think it makes a lot of sense, too, Fish. If there was an internal understanding of what the timeline would be for LeBron, there's no amount of outside pressure or social media that's going to accelerate it. I mean, this is a guy who has never really been sideline in this way, so why would you rush at this stage of the career? It would be foolish.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I think he's spot on. Whether we typically hear from Rich or not, it makes sense. He's LeBron's agent. His job description is to do what's best for LeBron. So what he says makes sense, and I agree in terms of the timing. I think everyone's just kind of clamoring for something because LeBron hasn't really spoken. Obviously, the Lakers are being cautious. They're not saying much other than he'll be reevaluated at the proper times. And so it's more noise than anything. With a significant groin injury, to 2 or 3 weeks later to be wondering why he's not back tonight doesn't really compute for me. So I say continue to take your time and do what you need to do.
All players are different. We saw Steph Curry have a similar injury. He missed 11 games earlier in the season. Steph, of course, a little bit younger than LeBron. But taking it onto the basketball court, how urgent is it for a player of LeBron's stature, who's obviously the best player in the league, the most important player on their franchise, for him to get back, seeing how they've slid from a top 4 seed now down to teetering to maybe being a lottery team?
Well, it's important for him to get back as soon as possible, but that has to be done in the right way. Steph Curry's injury probably was a different type of injury. LeBron's play was an awkward play and looked to put much more severe strain on the groin area than the play we saw from Steph Curry's injury. Getting LeBron back is paramount, but remember, this is month 4 of year 1. So if you want the LeBron James for the next 3.5 seasons to play at the MVP type level that he's capable of and showing no signs of really slowing down, then it is paramount to be patient right now. A few weeks now saves you a few years later, and that's what they need to do with this young man.
Well, it seems like you definitely want to take that into consideration, but let's not forget LeBron's not getting any younger. We all know Father Time's undefeated, so while you still want to manage that injury, you still want to make sure you don't lose an opportunity. This is a team that was right there close to the 2 seed earlier in the season.
But that was early in this season. There was also a situation where, did we really think the Lakers were a top 2 or 3 team in the Western Conference right now? So what they're doing is exposing themselves for what we knew them to be without LeBron James. You know, a team that will be maybe battling for one of those final spots in the playoff mix. The bigger pressure to me on the Lakers is actually external. You got now a Utah team with a very favorable schedule coming up, you know, throughout this entire second half of the season, and they're playing better. So now if you're the Lakers, you're not just playing for the internal expectations. Now you got to worry about the real estate around you and who is climbing, who's coming up after you, chasing that playoff spot that you've been sitting in. That's where I think the pressure, not on LeBron or anybody else, but just on the organization itself, weighs heavier than it might have otherwise. Look at what the Jazz, the Kings, you know, and really the Timberwolves and Pelicans are kind of out there, but not a threat right now the way that the Jazz are, clear and present. And then the Kings, if they get on a roll, then that's another team you got to worry about. What you got to have, if you're the Lakers, is LeBron back healthy and drama-free down the stretch run of the season. If it takes 2 or 3 more games, 4 games, whatever it is, you weigh that out and allow LeBron the time he needs to get healthy.
We talked about this off cam, but showing the signs of panic is when you look at Magic and Rob Pelinka and those guys, and Derek, I'll direct this question directly to you since you're familiar with the inner workings of that organization. Is there a situation where they make a knee-jerk reaction and make a move even though they're still waiting on LeBron just to try to maintain staying afloat in the Western Conference playoff standings?
I don't get the sense that that's what the feelings are. I think the thoughts lead more towards the future than right now. I believe the move to add LeBron James this year, or the decision that he made to come to LA, was really about what they're going to build this year into next year and really positioning themselves to be a destination for another top free agent or another top player via trade. Mm-hmm. And I think they've done a lot of that work. I do think that there are other players around the league that at the right time, and if things fit together, they will be willing to join LeBron in LA. And I think that's on track. And so I'm not sure if there's any huge move they would make in terms of LeBron being in or out. I think that move will be made either way.
The only potential wrinkle in this entire timeline, of course, is the trade deadline. You know, if somebody is desperate at the trade deadline to make a move or to do something, and the Lakers are on that phone, then all bets are off. We don't know what might happen. But I think that would be the case whether LeBron is in uniform
Correct.
or not.
That's what I agree with.
Having the trade deadline on the schedule the way we do before All-Star Weekend changes the dynamic, changes everybody's metric on how you approach it. That's the only, if the Lakers get past the deadline, Fish, why would you do anything to upset what you potentially have going on this summer? You ride this season out no matter what, no matter who's healthy, let chips fall where they will, and continue with your long-term plan to build this organization back up to the point where it can be a contender for years to come.
The NBA trade line coming up 2 weeks from tomorrow, so make sure you keep it locked right here on NBA TV, where we have all the latest updates on all the latest trade news. Luka Doncic, leading candidate for Rookie of the Year. We're going to talk to Jeff Skin Wade, who has all the insight on what's going on in Dallas. More Game Time coming up.